Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Change Your Mind podcast, where we explore personal development, spirituality, and science. I'm your host, Kris Ashley, and we have a Reiki Master Sensei here with us today. So I'm excited to see what we get into. First, couple quick announcements. Head over to the links in the show notes. You're going to find a lot. You're going to find ways to stay connected on social media, to purchase my book, to sponsor the podcast if that's interesting to you. You'll also find links to my courses and all of my amazing guest information. And this podcast is part of the Los Angeles Tribune Podcast Network. So head over to our website, see what we're up to, stay connected, check out all the other podcasts and amazing events that we've been putting on. What if the one thing keeping you stuck is the way you think? Welcome to Change Your Mind with Kris Ashley, the podcast where science meets spirituality and mindset becomes your most powerful tool for transformation. I'm Kris Ashley, author of Change Your Mind to Change Your Reality, trainer, speaker, and lifelong seeker. For years, I battled trauma, depression, anger, chronic illness, low self-worth, and the weight of old stories. Until I discovered how to rewire my mind, reconnect with my divine nature, and consciously create a new reality from the inside out. This show is here to help you do the same. Each week, we explore the intersection of personal development, spirituality, and science, diving into topics like healing, emotional mastery, entrepreneurship, resilience, and the quantum nature of reality. You'll hear powerful stories, gain practical tools, and real conversations that will help you change your perspective, get unshakable confidence, and live the vision your soul has always known is possible. Whether you're navigating a major life shift, building your dream business, or seeking deep healing and alignment, you're in the right place. So if you're ready to break through, take back your power, and create a life on your terms, this is your moment. Let's break free from the patterns that hold us back, awaken to who we truly are, and rise. Your transformation starts now. All right, so with me today, I have Yukikazu Sera, and he is a Reiki Master Sensei whose healing work focuses on supporting self-development and emotional intelligence. He empowers you to fast-track the journey of healing your body, mind, and spirit. He also offers Reiki training and apprenticeships for those who want to become healers themselves, honing their spiritual connection, gifts, and abilities. So welcome, Jeff. I'm so happy you're here.
Thanks, Kris. It's great to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I always start my episodes off the same way, and that is by asking my guests what their origin story is. So what is it that put you on this path to become a Reiki Sensei Master? And I guess also I've heard the term Reiki Master, but where does the Sensei come in?
So Sensei means like teacher. And so because I also teach Reiki, I've added that to my title.
Okay.
Some Reiki masters don't opt to teach. They reach that level and then they just carry on their own practice. But I've added that for myself.
That makes sense.
In Japan, there's, I believe the term is Shihan. So there's Reiki practitioner, Reiki master, and then Reiki Shihan, which is like the teacher. But that title is kind of more reserved for the traditional lineage of Reiki. And so I am not trained in that specific, modality. And so I opt for the sensei instead.
Cool. And I'd love for you to share your origin story, but thanks for explaining that.
Yeah, so it started with actually a psilocybin journey. And so I was with some friends and connected to the energy, but I didn't know what it was or how to explain it. Energy work and healing in this holistic way was something that was completely off of my radar. I had no idea about it. I knew nothing about it. But I could start to feel the energy. And then through connecting with psilocybin, I could feel it more and I could feel kind of the ability to move energy. And so I was kind of experimenting with a couple friends, and I just had one lay down and I ran my hands over them and said, in my head, the intention was to have healing white droplets of light just fall from my hands. And after I completed, I asked, what did that feel like? And she said it felt like white rain was falling all over her.
Cool.
And I was like, oh, that was exactly the intention. So then I was like, I need to look into this more to see what it is. And through that exploration, I connected to the art of Reiki.
Very cool. And you said you weren't trained in a specific type. Is there a specific type of Reiki that you've trained in?
So there's a lot of different, I guess, lineages of Reiki itself, and so the one I'm trained in is a combination of holy fire, usui, and um, the traditional from Japan itself is a very specific kind of traditional Reiki. The Reiki that's made it to the West today is people have taken it and added their own kind of flair and flavor to it. And so that's kind of the distinction where there's a very strict lineage passed down from the um, kind of the founder of Reiki, Usui himself. And then there's others that have taken his teachings and what he believed in and then added various elements to it. And so mine is a combination of like three of those elements.
And what makes it unique? Like what makes it different than, other types of Reiki? Like what's the unique like special sauce?
What I've done is I've kind of merged the two. So there's a Reiki master in Japan that we've worked closely with, and we went to Japan in early 2024 to collaborate and learn what we're teaching versus what they're teaching and how it differs, and then kind of do a cultural exchange, connecting it back to its roots. So I'm a third and fourth generation Japanese American, um, and so there's still even a disconnect with that aspect where when we went to Japan, we had three different cultures. So we had American culture, Japanese culture, and then Japanese American culture. And
Mm.
so all of these elements kind of combined in different ways to create different unique experiences. Some of the differences are distance Reiki. So if I were to do a virtual session with you and share Reiki from where you're physically located versus where I am, that is something that's not as typical in the traditional Japanese form, where it's very hands on. Um, the cultures themselves are also interesting, where there's almost an inversion where Japanese culture is very reserved and they're not very touchy feely. But anytime the word Reiki is mentioned, it's automatic that there's going to be hands on. So there's not the need to ask for permission. It's kind of like if you're going to be doing Reiki, obviously it'll be hands on, similar to like a massage. Whereas in American culture, we're much more open. We typically hug and show more affection. But anytime someone's doing Reiki, there's some hesitation. Some people prefer to have no physical contact, even if you're in the same room. They'll request kind of like hover hands or distance Reiki in the same space. Or there's also the kind of the caveat of, hey, I'm going to place hands on you and getting that permission. So it's kind of an interesting flip flop there.
Do you find there's a difference when you do hands-on versus like hover hands with someone?
I find that the difference is really for the person receiving it in terms of their experience. So it's Reiki is a very unique modality in that it can transcend time and space. So that means we could send a healing instantaneously. It doesn't need to be a full hour duration. But when I work with people, I typically will do hour sessions because it gives them the full experience where they get to lay down, relax, they drop into like a meditative state. They're able to feel and receive the energy rather than having it kind of flooding them all at once. So the experience is really the difference more so than the effect, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Very cool. So when I was reading your bio, it says your work focuses on supporting self-development and emotional intelligence. And I'd love for you to just talk about how that's tied into Reiki.
So with Reiki sessions, typically when I'm working with someone, I can feel or connect to emotions as well. And the physical body will store the things that we haven't emotionally expressed. So if somebody has shoulder pain or discomfort, that's typically from holding on to grief.
Mm.
So I can work on them and do Reiki, but if they don't address what they've been holding on to, the issue comes back in a week or a month or whatever it may be. And so rather than give them kind of like a Reiki Advil, I support them with, okay, here's what I picked up. How do we address the root cause? How do we solve the problem at the core?
And you do that with people?
So I work with people to explore what we're sensing. If they're having different chakra blockages, if they're having physical ailments or diseases, we look at what could be the root cause of that. What is going on in their lifestyle? What's going on in their mindset? And then how to undo the conditioning, how to unlearn what they've taught themselves or picked up through generational trauma from society, etc.
Is it always like they tell you ahead of time what's going on, or do you ever like pick up on something while you're doing the Reiki where you're like, "Oh, you must be holding on to grief because I can feel something here."
Yeah, it's usually a combination of both where they may come in with one thing, but as soon as I connect and begin to work on them, I'll sense and feel more than what they've shared or said. Um, and there could be a variety of reasons. It could be just a comfort thing. It could be difficult to kind of speak and say out loud. It could be something they're unaware of. But the moment they become aware of it, they kind of sit and explore it and they're like, oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about this thing or that thing.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. Like I love exploring different energy healing, and I actually got my like level 1 in Reiki, but I don't really use it ever except for like on my husband. I did it
Okay.
on my dog once and then she like threw up and it freaked me out. Which was probably like her like releasing something, right?
Purging it.
But I was like, okay. um, but I'm also like a big fan of the body code. Are you familiar with that at all?
Yeah. I had body code session not too long ago.
Cool. So like in my mind, and I'm saying this because I'm probably wrong and you should correct me if I am. It feels like a lot of what body code and other kind of modalities like that do is like help release, you know, whatever you're holding on to, right? Whether it's like emotion or like a virus or whatever, it helps release that. Where it feels like Reiki is like bringing in life force energy. So is it kind of like Reiki is coming in and those other modalities are going out, or does Reiki work in a similar way as well?
There's so many modalities and they're all unique and
Yeah.
different. So like chi, prana, and Reiki are all talking about the same universal life force energy, but the
Mm.
different cultures have chosen a variety of ways to kind of interact with it. Reiki specifically is pulling universal life force energy and then transferring that into the person we're working on. The person we're working on, the way I like to explain it is they're a cell phone. The cell phone runs on electricity, and so when you connect the charger to the phone, the practitioners like the cable. We're connecting them, the phone, to the source of the energy so that their body can do what it is capable of on its own. um, the cell phone can't do more than what it's capable of once it has the electricity. And so similarly, the human body is able to heal and repair itself. And that's what we're supporting them with doing by placing more of that energy and the resources they need inside. Whereas there are other healing modalities where there's like cleansing, or they're pulling energy out or removing things or clearing blockages in a way that's like a release.
So, okay, I agree with you that the human body is like perfect, whole, complete, exactly as it is, right? To quote one of my mentors, and that we are fully capable of healing ourselves. So, then, in your opinion, does all pain, like physical, emotional, whatever kind of pain, come from an energy blockage, or like how does that manifest? Because we live in a world where a lot of people are in pain.
Not all pain, but so like as an example, right? If I bump my knee on a desk, then that pain is a physical thing.
Yeah.
But if I have a recurring ache in my shoulder, that could be due to what is the physical body doing when I'm storing that? Am I tense in that area, walking around all day, not even realizing that I'm storing that tension? Or am I constantly anxious to the point that I'm always nauseous, and then that's causing stomach issues? There's a really good booklet or pamphlet called Feelings Buried Alive Never Die. And it talks about how whatever your physical ailment is, there's something that it's connected to. There's an emotion or something we're avoiding that would support releasing that physical ailment. Um, it's a combination. So we think of these things as separate. My physical body, my mindset, my energy, they're all separate things. But the reality is they're all within us. So they're all having an effect on us. And so if something is physically bothering you, it could just be physical. Maybe I'm sleeping wrong on my neck, but then there's also potentially an emotional component as to why I'm sleeping wrong or what tension is being held there. So it's everything is interconnected.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so fascinating. Like, especially like I like to I've learned a lot about like repressed emotions, right? Like
Mm.
those pretty much always manifest in illness, even though like all illness isn't from them. So it's interesting, like the things that can block our energy flow. So in Reiki, you mentioned chakras. In my mind, that's more like Chinese medicine. Like, does Reiki follow like a similar type of like energy fields, or like do you work with chakras?
Yeah. So in chakras are it's like the definitions used for the energy centers.
Right.
So no matter what form of medicine you're referring to, this is a head, right? So
Yeah.
then similarly, the chakra points exist no matter what modality you're talking about. The way that we interact with it could be unique and different. So
Yeah.
with Reiki, we can clear chakra blockages by kind of almost flooding it with the Reiki energy to clear whatever may be stuck there. I like to think of it like a clogged pipe, and then you just flush it with water. So by sending Reiki through the channels of the physical body, you can clear the blockage. Now, again, if the individual changes nothing, the blockage will return because most blockages come from internally. Um, Throat chakra can be blocked if I'm not speaking up or expressing my needs, vocalizing things, etc. That's a very common example, but all of the chakras are really something that we have to seek balance in. They could be overactive or they could be blocked.
Okay, so what have you seen working with people in terms of infertility? Because that's a personal one, and I have anytime I have like a healing any kind of healer on the show, I have to ask because I'm on this kind of quest to figure it out. And there's been so many guests on the show who have given me little healing sessions, and I'm going to ask you to do the same, just because it's great for the audience to see it too. But I'm curious in your just opinion and experience, like what is going on in the energy field there?
That could be a sacral chakra blockage.
Mhm.
Feelings of isolation, lack of creativity, um, low libido. Those all are symptoms of like a blockage in the sacral chakra area.
Hmm.
Um, on the flip side, if it's overactive, it could be excessive libido. I have a sheet that I've created for it.
Yeah.
Um, Over emotional, fixated on sex, hedonistic, and manipulative for overactive sacral chakras. Now, with infertility, that could be a combination. There could be self worth conversations tied to that where they've manifested an inability to reproduce because they don't want to pass on themselves. Um, that could be deeper rooted. It could also be um, something tied to their own childhood. There could be an inner child wound where that hasn't been healed, and then they don't want to pass that on through their own generational trauma. So there's a variety of things that could be at play, and it depends on the individual. There's also sometimes a physical aspect, and again, if debatable whether it's tied to something emotional they've been holding on to, or if that was just their own biology based on genetics when they were born. Um, so it's really a case by case thing, but to examine it from all lenses and perspectives of is it energetic, is it spiritual, is it physical, is it emotional.
Okay, so if I were to ask you to do like a little 5-minute Reiki session on me, could you tell where it was coming from?
When so I guess to be more specific, is infertility something you're working on or
Yeah,
through
yeah, yeah,
yourself?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I thought I was clear about that. Yes.
Okay. um I can try things that I sense or pick up. It's Reiki works in a hierarchy system. So if you come to me and say I have shoulder pain, but there's actually like a kidney infection, all the energy is going to go to the kidney infection. So if that is the highest priority in your system right now, then that is the most uh, kind of in my face thing that I'll sense or feel first. If it's not, then there may be something else that the energy is addressing. So I can't guarantee it, but we can take a look.
Yeah, no, I'd love that, and I'm gonna ask you too, but that's interesting you said that because, like I said, the only time I ever do it is on my husband when he's had, like, a bad day or he's stressed or he's not feeling well, and it's like you can feel where the energy is being pulled, right, from the
Mm.
body, and, like, I'm not anywhere as attuned to it as you are, but I can even feel, like, when I'm over a certain area, it's like, "Oh, I feel it pulling strong," versus, like, nothing, so it's so fascinating, so that's interesting, so if someone comes to you with shoulder pain, are you able to work on their shoulder pain, or is it like, "Oh, kidney problem is just, like, pulling all this, like, you gotta come back for the shoulder pain once we resolve this?"
So typically, it's we do something called like a biosyn scan, like kind of how you're describing. You'll feel the energy being pulled from your hands in certain areas, like, oh, this is a hot spot I need to work on. Typically, when someone comes to me, I have a form they'll fill in and kind of get an idea of what they want worked on. But at the same time, when I do my scan, I'm going to work on the things that are a priority until I get to that point. Now, if we don't get to that point, that just means there were a lot of things stacked that the person was unaware of. And then that becomes a conversation as to how they're taking care of themselves, how they're treating their body, and then also their own awareness of their physical health and their energies. Um, it's a very interesting space where people come with a certain expectation, and I do my best to work on that, but sometimes we don't get there because of the hierarchy, or we just need additional time. So then sometimes the hour session becomes an hour and a half or 2 hours so that we can get through all those things to then get to the issue that they came to me to resolve in the first place.
Well, it's great with that you stay with them for that long, even if it's unplanned. I was just gonna ask you something that you brought up, and I totally just blanked. Um, oh, I was gonna say, like, have you ever had, like, had an experience where you're like, "Oh, something's coming up that they're not aware of, and it feels like an intense thing," or like you had to be like, "Oh, maybe you should go, like, get this checked out by a doctor," or anything like that? Like, has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, when it's something more serious, I'll let them know, hey, this is what I'm sensing or feeling in certain areas. Definitely keep an eye on that or get that checked out, depending on what it is or what area it's in. Um, there's also, I do a lot of fairs, and so the fair setting is much different than a private session here. So in the fair space, I'll typically ask if they want me to share anything that comes up, because some people aren't expecting kind of like to tap into their emotions in a quick 20-minute session.
Yeah.
Um, so I kind of give people that option.
Yeah, I can see that. They're just, like, at the fair for a fun day or whatever, and then
A lot of people end up crying and they're like, this is not the day I was planning to have, but much needed. But if it is something more severe that I'm sensing, especially, in the heart space, in the sacral areas, then I will let them know, hey, keep an eye on this or get this checked out.
So, how does that conversation go when, like you're like, okay, I cleared this for you, but unless you work on these underlying things, unless you release this grief or, this emotional thing, like do you actually counsel them through it?
Depending on the setting. So if it's at a fair, I usually allot about 5 to 10 minutes for a debrief at the end to share what I worked on, what I sensed. Um, and then I'll give them information as to how to get in touch with me. I also have something called a discovery call, so they can kind of explore further what the self development side of things looks like. Um, it is typically things people are aware of but haven't put focus on or don't really want to admit,
Mm.
and it becomes a conversation of like, oh, I know that, and it's like I didn't know that it was causing me to have physical discomfort. I knew it was something I've been avoiding, but not to the extent that I need to address this for my health. And so
I
then
mean,
they're more open.
that totally makes sense because I believe symptoms are just your body's giving you messages.
Yeah,
Right. And if you're not going to listen to the messages and you're going to ignore it, it's going to be like, hey, 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 and get louder and louder. Right.
we actually, I think, learn and condition ourselves to not listen to our body, right? Like we get up and we go to work. Okay, I'm tired, let me drink coffee. oh, let me
Yeah.
power through this, or oh, I need to eat, but I have to get this done, so I'll do it later. But the body's always telling us, hey, this is what I need, and we don't typically listen. And that's why like meditation and energy work is very important, because then you can tap back into that and listen and learn what your body's sharing with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I like that you suggested meditation too, because I mean, going to a healer is, a profound experience and it's so important, but like we're also all our own healers and it's important that we learn to kind of go within and quiet our mind and listen to what our body needs too, right? I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Like this idea of because I mean like heal thyself is kind of like the ultimate, right? Like how do you navigate that versus like working as a healer?
So part of my goal, or what I do when I work with people, especially the ones that are like recurring where they come to me for regular Reiki sessions, I encourage them to actually learn Reiki themselves, because
Cool.
it's like, okay, you're coming to me all the time. You can also do this. Anyone is capable of learning Reiki and performing it. It's not something that's like a birthright or something that you have to be born with. It's just something you get to learn. And then in doing so, not only can you do self Reiki, but any time that I work on someone else, I also receive a healing, because the energy that I'm transferring to them passes through me. It's
Mm.
like when I drink through a straw, the straw also gets wet.
Yeah. I never thought about it like that as like when I'm doing it for my husband. That I also get it too. Yeah. That's pretty powerful. I mean, it makes sense. It's like universal life force energy. When you do it on yourself, like do you just do it the same way as you do on someone else?
Um, for the most part, like I'll place hands on the area, and if it's like I can't quite reach it comfortably, then I can also do distance, where it's just I'll set the intention and kind of envision the flow of energy, and then it's almost meditative too, where I'm just kind of envisioning what my body would need to do, and then the body kind of follows suit. Um, there's a very fine line between like Reiki and then meditation for your own healing. So if you were to scrape your knee or get hurt or injured, your body repairs itself. If you had like a broken arm and a cast and you were to sit and meditate every day and just envision your body healing the bones, repairing them, uh, any of the tendons, putting that back together, it gives a signal to the body to direct energy, resources, and nutrients there. And so there's a mudra for meditation where you just combine all five fingers to a point and place that on the physical body. This is also a technique I'll use when I'm doing Reiki to kind of concentrate the energy rather than like an open palm. But it's very similar, so people can do this themselves and see what kind of effect it has anytime they have, a small scrape or cut or any discomfort.
Do you think there's any difference in your body healing itself from a small scrape and cut versus like cancer or something super serious?
Yes and no. Like it's
Is
the
it
kind
just
of
our belief system or is there more to it?
yeah. So it's interesting with like Western medicine when someone is told, okay, you have this much time to live, or you're never going to walk again, or like these things, that becomes a seed in your mind that becomes your reality. Because then you're like, okay, well, what's the point in exercising every day if I'm not going to be able to regain these abilities? Versus if you tell your body and your mind, I am healthy, I'm whole, I am recovering, that becomes a reality. And so even when we speak to people, it's important how we articulate it. So I don't ever say I'm sick or I don't feel well. I'll let people know I'm recovering and I'm getting better.
Yeah.
And then that influences the mind to then follow suit. And so when the difference between like a cut and a scrape versus cancer is the physical, there's going to be a lot more work that needs to be done. It could be more physically taxing, but the process could be very similar, right? If I just sit here and I say, I'm going to repair this cut, I'm going to repair this cut, I'm going to repair this cut, same process. I'm going to clear this cancer. I'm going to rid myself of this cancer. But also, cancers tend to form when we've held onto emotions. And so there's
Mm.
the need to release whatever formed and caused it in the first place.
Yeah, I agree so much with everything you said. I mean, I wrote a book called Change Your Mind to Change Your Reality. That's like, I'm like very much on that path. So you just mentioned the importance of releasing emotions because they can turn into things like cancer. What is your favorite way to let go of emotions? Because I think that's really hard for a lot of people.
I also struggle with that myself.
Yeah.
Holotropic breathing has been one form that like has really allowed me to do like a full release where I was able to just kind of let go. Um, what's it called? Catharsis. So like inducing your own catharsis, whatever shape or form that could look like. It could be through like a shaman and having kind of some spiritual energetic support. It could be through plant medicines. It could be through music. I've had psilocybin journeys where a friend will play a drum, and then that drum just kind of creates an energy that allows things to flow and move. And so music can be integral in these things as well. Um, it really depends on kind of what it is and where I'm at. So I've been trying to clear and process grief over actually one of my Reiki students that passed away. And I hadn't quite been able to release until we did a sound bath this past weekend, and one of our practitioners was playing a harp. And while she was doing that, the rest of us were silent, not playing any other instruments. And during that time, I just felt everything. That allowed me to kind of to cry during the session. Um, and so sometimes it's unpredictable, and I can't like induce it, but it flows. And when it comes up, I allow it to.
I love what you said about like you were finally able to like feel it and cry because I think that's kind of the key, right? Like I agree with you, there's so many ways to do it. But if we can allow ourselves to feel those emotions, that's the best way to let them go, right?
That's
Um,
I think the thing most
yeah.
people avoid because it's like it's uncomfortable to feel sadness or anger or frustration. But when we deny ourselves that, then it's stored.
And I think the other side of that is like a lot of times people don't realize they're holding on to things.
Yeah.
Right? And they're like, "I have this pain, these symptoms, and, like, I have no idea where it's coming from. I've gone to all these doctors, I've gone to all these I've gotten acupuncture and chiropractic adjustments and all these things, but, like, it's persistent, and they just don't realize that they're holding on to something, and that's what's tricky about repressed emotions is it could be something that, like, to your conscious mind, like, it's like, "Oh, that wasn't a big deal," but, like, it's stored in your body, and that's where it's kinda interesting, or it's been interesting in my life where it's, like, doing things like that. Like, Osho's dynamic meditation is one of my favorite ways to release it, and it's funny you said catharsis because there's a part in there that's, like, called the catharsis, and it just allows you to feel, and there's been so many times during that where memories that I didn't even, like, know I had
Mm,
came flooding back to me, like, happy and sad. So it's amazing, like, how our body, like, remembers and stores everything, even if it's not, like, on our conscious level.
yeah. It's it's interesting, like the flood of memories that come back when you pause and allow yourself to feel.
Mm,
Because in our everyday life, let's say something does happen, and then we still have to go to work. It's like,
yeah.
okay, I don't have time to cry and grieve this, but I still need to get things done, so I'll do that later. But then later
Gotta,
never
like, schedule it
comes.
in.
Yeah, later never comes until we give ourselves that time and space through a catharsis, through a meditation, through whatever your journey is. And then once that comes up, then it's like, oh, there's a lot there because all the stuff I said I'll do later is waiting for later, which is now. Um, and yeah, it can be very uncomfortable to be like, okay, one thing after another, and then you're just now a sobbing puddle of a mess and trying to figure out where it all came from and not realizing that you had been the one that started it all.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just amazing how we really are energy fields and it just I don't know, like I'm really into quantum physics and like the idea of reincarnation and all of this and our energy goes on forever and we're just here in this school and we're just gathering information to take back to source and it's just I'm trying to like articulate what I'm feeling right now just like
I'm with you.
listening. But you know what I mean? It's like it's all stored in there, right? Through
something
different
that
lifetimes, and it's wild.
something that's been like top of mind for me lately is that energy cannot be created or destroyed.
Yeah,
Meaning, what you're physically made of, what I'm physically made of, is not new. It's it's the same particles that have existed long before we were born. And so within us, within what we're made of, there's ancient knowledge. It's
totally.
a remembrance of connecting to all the things that those particles have experienced. So your past lives, the past lives of those particles and everything else, you can tap into your higher self or whatever your belief system is in order to learn at a more rapid rate, manifest at a rapid rate. And it's, again, it's all energy.
Yeah, and we are ancient and vast and expansive, and it's crazy what you said, like energy has no beginning. So it's like it's hard to wrap your 3D mind around that, right? Like if there's no beginning, like where does is it just it's always been here, but like we were around at the beginning, even though there isn't a beginning. I don't know. Like I think we all came from source, but yeah, it's just wild to think about. Like we are so much more than our bodies, our thoughts, our emotions, our reactions to things. But so many people are just stuck in this like 3D reality, this like movie that we're just manifesting around us.
It's school is, I think, one of the saddest parts of our society in that it teaches us not to connect to these gifts. It conditions us to think within a box.
I
And
mean, yeah, go ahead.
it's the human being is capable of so much more than we're taught. You have to go out and seek these things on your own and learn about it. But the ability to connect psychically, the ability to connect to spirits, to speak to loved ones that have passed on, to heal ourselves and others through just your hands or an intention to manifest. All these things are not taught to us, but they're things every single person is capable of.
Absolutely. They say like 98% of kids, like babies, are geniuses. And then, like, as they go through the grades of school, that number drops off. And it's like in the 80s, and then it's in the 70s. And then, like, by the time kids are like done with high school, it's like 1 or 2% because we we just like bang that out of them because school is to teach people how to become good workers, right? That's
Yeah.
like literally the point of school. Have you been listening to that new podcast called the Telepathy Tapes at all? Because
Mm-mm.
it's so cool. Oh my god, it's so cool. So it's a documentary style. There's 10 episodes, and it's looking at kids with severe autism who are nonverbal, and they realize that these kids are telepathic, and they all go to this place that they call the hill, and they all talk to each other, and they have these like rich lives like through telepathy, but like it's talking to all these parents and teachers who are like, my kid reads my mind. And it's a documentary style, so they bring in like a neuroscientist and like all these legit scientists, and they're like running these experiments, and then a lot of them can see spirits and talk to them, and like all the gifts that you just said that we are all absolutely capable of. And I think a lot of people have had those experiences where they dream of loved ones who have passed, right? Or you know, they get that like gut feeling, right? That's real, right? We're just not trained, like you said.
We're conditioned the opposite. Like, oh,
Yeah.
you're seeing things that I can't see, so you're crazy.
Yeah.
It's sad, but that's the world we live in. Um, when you surround yourself with other people that are able to do these things, though, it opens up the mind and what we realize we're capable of. Um, yeah, I've created a community of healers, and so within that, there's so many modalities where the conversations we have are far different from what I grew up around. And
Yeah.
there's no judgment or this question of like, are you really seeing that, or is that really the message you got? It's like, yeah, you're the fifth person to tell me that. And so there's this correlation of like it's undeniable because they've never met or spoken about it, so how could they give me the same message? um, Things like that have been real interesting to kind of connect to and learn.
Yeah, it's so true. You really are the result of the people you spend your time around. And like, I don't know if you have kids, but I have a he's gonna be like a year old in 8 days, which is crazy. But I'm like thinking about school already and like having all these same thoughts. And it's like, oh my God, I don't know
Mm.
if I have it in me to homeschool, but like I don't know. I have to like look at different programs, but it's hard to like want to send my kid off to that. Like it just doesn't feel right, especially in California.
There's like a balance of what can I teach at home that'll be different from what he'll learn, because I think there's the social aspect too that's important,
Yeah.
and we don't have the infrastructure for like socializing as people are homeschooled, as far as I know.
There are groups where they'll do, like, extracurricular activities, like, in
Okay.
groups, and then you homeschool, but it's a commitment.
Yeah.
It's totally a commitment. Yeah, interesting. So we have about 15 minutes left. I'd love for you to do just, like, a quick Reiki session on me, and I'd love to, like, hear whatever you pick up on too.
Absolutely. Okay. Infertility was the main focus. Was there anything else that you're experiencing today or that you want to?
No, I'd love to just yeah, no, that's it.
Do you want me to share things as I'm sensing and picking it up live, or do you want me to kind of hold it and just save it for the end?
Whatever works for you.
Okay, I usually whatever your preference is. If you want to kind of go into a meditative state yourself, then I'll remain silent and just take notes, or I can share it as it comes up.
I was gonna say, are you gonna remember that? You take notes?
I will, yeah.
Um, it really doesn't matter to me. Whatever you
Okay,
think is easier for you and audience would benefit from because then they get to see how you work too.
okay. I'll whatever I feel called to. If I feel called to share something, then I will. If not, then I'll hold it.
Should I close my eyes or should what
So
should I
yeah, go ahead and take a deep breath in. Just let it go. Down the worries of the day, anything you were doing before this, anything you may need to do afterwards. Just allow yourself to be present in your body. One more deep breath in, and let it go. And bring your awareness down to your hips. Connect to your root chakra, the base of your spine. Envision an energetic red cord extending from your tailbone, sending it deep into the earth beneath you and anchoring it to the core. Just allow that to ground you into your physical body, present moment, here and now. With each breath in, envision that you're inhaling healing light. With each breath out, envision releasing anything that doesn't serve you and sending it down the grounding cord. The earth will receive it and transmute it into something that can be used. You have a really good energetic hygiene. Yeah, the first thing I sensed when I connected to you is you have like your own protective bubble so that you're not just picking up things as you walk around or interact with others. You have good boundaries. Getting a buzz on the right side of your body. So a lot of the energy is directed to the right side of your body, and when there's an imbalance between right and left, it's typically the masculine and the feminine energies. The right side is our masculine. So the doing, the logic, providing for others, pouring from an empty cup. So being sure to take time to rest, recover, allow yourself to be, refill your cup. And also your right shoulder is one area that was buzzing for me, and then a little bit on the left side of the head. So as I'm scanning your sacral, for me, I'll get color hits when it's connected to like a chakra point. Scanning your sacral, there was almost like looked like two green dots. So green is heart chakra, and then also it felt like maybe the bottom parts of your shoulder blades. So all in the heart space area. So I'm picking up in connection to anything in the sacral. For whatever reason, there was two green dots. Go ahead and take a deep breath in. Let it go with the sigh. Just gently roll your head from side to side, becoming aware of the room you're in.
I was seeing so many colors and patterns behind my eyes, like almost in like breathing rhythm. That was really interesting.
Cool.
Well, very well.
Um, there was so I'm familiar with when people have stored their grief, and it's like there's a heavy sense, and there's like something recent or in the last year that maybe they've not processed yet. The feeling I had with you was not that, but there was a feeling of, it's hard to describe. It's not something I've come across before, but it was almost like a light sadness or like a happy sadness or like a healthy sadness. But that was what I was connecting to, was tied to your sacral chakra. And so something in the heart space is what I'm getting is tied to that, whether it's something in the past. But again, it feels like it's something that you've processed. So like there's a healthy connection to it, but that would be like the tie-in to whatever any blockage or remaining ailments could be. It's hard. It's hard to make sense with what I was sensing or feeling, but if that lands for you,
So is it something that I need to process more or like work to release more, but I've already processed it?
no, it didn't feel like that. I guess. Well, when we're saying process, I'm thinking like feel through it and experience it again. It doesn't
Right.
feel like that, but it's I guess it would be more of a release of. This doesn't feel right either, but I'm gonna kind of just think out loud here, like uh, any guilt or self self beat up tied to a thing that you've already processed or grieved. But it's even that is like you're not holding yourself accountable, but there is like a little bit of something that's still holding on to or attached to. um I'm not sure if it's like the emotion or it's tied to your heart space. And again, there was two green dots, but it wasn't the same heaviness or uh the storing of grief that I'm familiar with most people, so that's why it's hard to kind of articulate or speak to what it is. um I would describe it like there is a connection to something that your heart had been in pain over in the past. And so what work needs to be done, I'm not fully sure whether it's maybe it could be like a higher level of self-compassion or forgiveness. And it feels like a lot of that work was done, but there's like a sliver remaining that's like the last bit of what it would take to clear anything is how I would describe it.
Yeah, I mean, I that actually resonates. That actually like makes sense. Um, that's interesting. That's very, very interesting.
A lot of the time, it's like I don't know exactly what the thing is, but I'll share and hope that it supports the person. So
So I guess you said in terms of next steps, it's like more forgiveness and self-compassion and
yes,
yeah,
it's not like you're holding on to something, but there's drops left for you to release, if that makes
sure.
sense.
Yeah, yeah, totally. All right, cool. Well, I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
cool.
the right side was before I got to that is where everything was going. So just being aware of how much you're doing in your output
Yeah, just trying to like run a couple companies and raise a baby and
while living in
yeah,
California
yeah, yeah.
during.
No, but luckily we're not near the fires, but God, that's so sad what's going on. No, that all resonates a lot actually. So yeah, I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
If you're listening, this guy's the real deal. um, I'm sure listeners want to know where they can find you, how they can connect with you, if they want to do a discovery call or work with you. If you want to share.
My website and my business name is called Food for Thought, the number four, and then 408 for San Jose's area code. My website is also food, the number four, thought408.com, and you can find information about Reiki self development there. My handle on Instagram is my middle name, Yukikazu408. And you can find information about sound baths and various events. We have a fair coming up this weekend that'll be at, we have sound baths coming up. So if you're in the Walnut Creek area, we'll be at What the Flow, which is be held at Unity Church, I believe. Um, so yeah, any questions, feel free to email me, DM me, whatever way you can find to get hold of me, I'll respond.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jeff. It was such a pleasure talking with you and hearing your perspective and insights and just learning from you, but also just getting even more confirmation about, how I feel and what I believe. So it's always so great to hear from all these people from different walks of life and backgrounds, like kind of all saying similar things. It's just like
Yeah.
you said, there's like a whole community that is very awakened and aware, and that's who we need to surround ourselves with. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. If you're listening, please like, comment, share, subscribe, send this to someone you think could benefit from it. And I'll see you all next week. Have a beautiful rest of your day.